You're about to learn ways that desert organisms use to lose less water. If you're new here, my name is Vernon and I'm a former desert guide. I find desert adaptation fascinating, and there's just a myriad of ways that animals and organisms use to be able to survive in deserts. Because of that, I've been busy with a series of videos about how desert organisms are able to survive desert conditions. The repeated theme of these videos is the fact that the big problem that any desert organism has to overcome in some way is the fact that deserts are by definition landscapes where water is the limiting factor. Water is the problem for every single animal and plant and organism of any kind living in a desert. In my previous video, I covered some of the strategies that desert organisms use to acquire water, to get it in the first place. So in this video, we look at the opposite. Once they have some water in their bodies, how do they make sure that they hold on to it? I've broken the video up into 5 categories. Be reflective, be round, be nocturnal, be structurally specialized, and be physiologically frugal. Being reflective in terms of water loss is indirect, because being reflective doesn't prevent water loss, but rather prevents an organism from getting too hot. But getting too hot is a problem for the survival of an organism, and the way to stop getting too hot is usually through some way of losing water. For example, when your own body gets too hot, your body starts sweating in order to lose that heat. So that is water loss, and so being reflective does help organisms reduce the amount of water that they need to use. Being reflective is interesting as an adaptation because it brings up a new problem, especially in terms of animals. That problem is predation. If you become very reflective, you become very visible to predators. And so being reflective creates this balancing act problem of, on the one hand, organisms wanting to be reflective, and on the other hand, organisms wanting to hide from predators. I'll give 2 quick examples. One of the most striking examples are very white backs of beetles, of tenebroid beetles. These beetles are actually black and just secrete a waxy substance that covers them in a white coating. I guess in terms of predation, they can afford it because their main way of getting away from a predator is simply being able to outrun lizards in their environment. A more nuanced example are springbuck. They have a white face so that their brain can stay cool, and the brain is the main organ that needs to stay within a set temperature range, while much of the rest of their body is more camouflaged. They also have white hairs on their back, and during the really hot times, you can often find herds of springbuck, large herds of springbuck, where the majority of them are facing with their bums towards the sun, so that just that whitest part of their back is exposed to the sun, while their sides remain camouflaged. The second adaptation is be round. If you want to understand this better, and generally to help you understand a lot of these things better, my video about the chemistry of water relating to desert adaptation will help a lot. The basic premise is that being round reduces your surface area to volume. What this means is the more an organism's shape tends to being round, the less of it is exposed through its skin. In the Namib, evolution has gone to town with this adaptation. There are many, many examples. I think the lithops plants, these little plants that are sometimes called rock plants, are one of the best examples. These little plants are virtually round balls. If you've made it this far in the video and you're finding this interesting, please subscribe to my channel. The next adaptation really just applies to animals, and that is being nocturnal. By being inactive when the desert is really hot and being able to sit in the shade or be underground, many organisms avoid needing to use water to keep themselves cool during the heat of the day. This applies to nearly the majority of desert animals. The best way to get a sense of this is just to go out in the dunes on a windless morning and see that there are thousands of trucks all over the dunes from activity during the night and hardly anything running around while the sun is hot. The next section, be structurally specialized, refers to having little design tricks to help organisms lose less water. Again, there are many examples of this in the Namib Desert, most of them involving either plants or insects. One interesting one would be the tenebrate beetles. To understand this, we need to look at how these beetles are built. You probably know that insects have 2 pairs of wings and 3 pairs of legs, so 6 legs, 4 wings. Beetles are a type of insect that have evolved that front wing into a hardened carapace, so it's no longer a wing, it becomes a cover. Most families of beetles still retain the back wing, and they can lift up that front hardened carapace to use their back wings to fly. But this family of beetles that we're referring to have lost that second wing, and the hardened carapace is now fused on the back of their body, so it becomes an extra cover over the back of their body. This is not unique to the Namib. These beetles occur all over the world. Gas exchange takes place through spiracles in insects, the little holes on their thorax, on the back of their body. So you can imagine, instead of them breathing through their mouth like we do, that process is taking place through little holes on the side of their body. And this is common throughout all insects. With these beetles, by having that process take place underneath a shell with this hardened wing, they are exchanging air into a cavity on the back of their body. By not doing gaseous exchange with the outside desert air, this little cavity on the back of their body retains a higher humidity. And so this one little trick just allows them to lose less moisture through respiration than other desert organisms would. The final category is be physiologically frugal. Basically, this means finding ways that the organism can use less energy in its body and thereby need less moisture to maintain its bodily processes. To some degree, this doesn't lend to great examples for a video, but it applies to a huge amount of desert organisms. Virtually everything has some kind of adaptation in the way that it manages its body in order to lose less moisture. The most well-known examples of this are in how animals manage their bodily waste. You have things like ground squirrels that have very pasty urine. They lose less moisture through their urine, so their urine is just way more processed before it comes out, and so they lose less moisture through that. And you have things like oryx and springbuck that defecate through tiny little pellets, and so their feces just loses less moisture. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a like, and if you've got any thoughts or any other examples or any questions, please leave me a comment and I'll respond to it for sure. Thank you for watching.